3. And we are live. Welcome everyone to the Legend, the Mist character creation stream. I'm Kevin Carpenter, and joining me today is the founder of Son of Oak Game Studio, Amit Moshe. Today we're going to
Hey,
be going
everyone.
Today we're going to be going into the character creation rules of Legend in the Mist by creating a character that you, the Kickstarter backers, have chosen. So Amit, let's go into a bit more detail on what we're going to be doing today.
Yeah, so great to be here. Great. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Awesome that we'll be able to now do a deep dive into the character creation system of Legend in the Mist, but also to take a look at the system itself, some of the action rules, clarify whatever people are looking to ask, as we're going to do a Q&A session later on that. But yeah, like you said, Kevin, we're going to dive right in with character creation, and we're going to talk about how that's done in this system. You all have seen probably the Tinderbox demo that we've shared on the Kickstarter page. If you haven't, I really recommend downloading it now and having it kind of side by side, because we're going to be referring to that quite a lot today. Another thing that we're going to look at is who was the winner of the vote that we ran this morning for the 3 characters. It was a close call, but we had 3 characters. We had Gala of the Blade. We had Gorna and Truffles, the cook, and his little boar, not so little boar. And we had Kinsey, who's kind of one of the children of Twilight, who is pretending to be a peddler in the Dales. So all 3 of them were super popular among you guys, and we kind of had to count things a little more in detail. And I believe Gorna is the winner. Kinsey was second, and quite a few votes for Gala as well. So yeah, we're going to do Gorna today if we have enough time. We're also going to look at Kinsey, as many of you really asked for it to be. Maybe we'll be able to squeeze that in. Which one was your favorite, Kevin?
I kind of like Gorna. I'm very interested in kind of exploring that concept, definitely.
Yeah. So we're going to go with that. And let's dive in. Let's
All
start
right.
by taking a look at the general structure of a character sheet in Legend in the Mist. Just one moment. So I'm going to go to the demo that we've shared with you on the campaign. And I'm just going to open one of the character sheets there. We're going to go over that and have a discussion about what exactly is a character in Legend in the Mist and what is it made of.
Just
So
let me
this
know when you're
time,
ready.
let's take maybe the wise one. Just randomly pick one of the wise ones, one of the variants of the wise one, and load that up. I'm going to share my screen in a second.
Currently a boar sweep and Truffles gang celebration in the chat going on.
Totally. Yeah, we thought that might be the case because it's so adorable that it's really hard to resist. Let's see. So I'll share my screen, Kevin, now.
All right. Press the button. There we go.
Just making sure everyone can see everything.
All right.
And,
How's that looking, folks?
ah, so we have the wise one here. And we're going to zoom in on, we're going to just take a wide look at this character in general. And just kind of do a quick rundown of what a character in Legend in the Mist, what's it built out of. so you guys can have an idea what we're going to be creating for Gorna. So as you may know, a character in Legend of the Mist has 4 themes. What are themes? Backwards have asked us, what are themes? Themes are actually highlighted aspects of your character, okay? They don't represent everything that your character is. Your character can be other things, but these are the aspects that are most in focus at this point in time in the story. So themes can change. This is what we mention about personal story arcs and moments of transformation that change your character. You can look at and get some more detail about that, both in the Tinderbox set and in the campaign page where we explained it a little bit. But themes can change during the game. But when you create a character, you kind of start with what are the most important things that I want to start the story with about this character. So each one of these is an aspect. We have for the wise one, we have the apothecary, we have old ways practitioner, we have outland recluse, and we have seen a thing or two. So this person is an apothecary. This is one of the focuses of this character. Another thing is their practice of the old ways, some kind of a tradition that's been passed on in the Dales. They live outside of the village. They live basically in the bush, and they're a recluse. They don't like hanging out with other people. That's a circumstance theme. We're going to talk about the type in a minute. And they are experienced individuals, and that's a focus of this character, how experienced they are, what they've seen already. So we have a theme for seen a thing or two. And for each one of those,
if you
go
guys
ahead.
want to, if you guys want to see this character in action, I did also play the Old Wise one in our previous live stream, the Livestream AMA.
Fantastic. Yes, that's definitely worth taking a look at, and you can play it yourself as well if you play the Tinderbox demo. So what we can do now is kind of drill a little bit more into what a theme is. So I'm going to put this here in the focus. We're going to look at apothecary. Each theme has a type, or we might start from the bigger categories. We did mention in the previous stream and in general that there are 3 levels of theme types. This is the design direction that we're taking right now. We're not sure it's going to be in the end, but I'm pretty sure that this is where we're going, which are called origin, adventure, and greatness. And they define what kind of scope this theme has. Origin themes are a little bit more about where you came from and who you are. Adventure themes are about exploring, getting out in the world, being a little bit more experienced. And greatness themes are really about another level of influence over the world, like a ruler, a king, or a queen. And or it could be your size. Maybe you're a dragon. It could be your mastery over some skill. And this is really comparable if you know that triad of apprentice, journeyman, and master. So this could be comparable to origin, adventure, and greatness. And if people have questions about these aspects as we're talking about them, please feel free to fire away. While we're looking at the character build, we can also cover these topics. The other aspect of the character within each set, each category, origin, adventure, and greatness, there are more specific types. These types, trait or skill, mystery, circumstance, past, we're going to go over the whole list in a minute. They kind of define a little better what this theme is going to be about, and they define the tools that you're going to use to build this theme. Because if you're going to use what we're going to look at in a minute, theme kits to create it or theme books to create it, you're going to use them from this specific type. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Another thing that the focus of a theme here is obviously its tags. You've seen us use the tags in the actual play that we did on Friday. And here you can see 3 power tags that are already activated. Every theme starts with 3 power tags. The first one is called the title tag. It's a power tag exactly the same as all the other power tags. It behaves exactly the same. It's just also kind of serves as the context giver to the whole theme as a title. And then you have two more power tags. You can gain more power tags. So on our pre-gens, you're going to see three more optional power tags that you can gain. Um, that's um, that's not necessarily a part of character creation. It's more a part of character evolution. So we're going to start with just three power tags. And you have the theme's weakness tag. A weakness tag takes away from your power when you use it, but it does gain you experience. And with experience, you gain more power tags. So it's a kind of it is an asset. And, you know, people who've been playing City of Mist for a long time usually like to activate their weakness tags. I don't know about your players, Kevin.
Oh,
They
well,
know that that gives them weak experience.
the interesting thing about playing a game like City of Mist and Legend of the Mist with like some of the people I play with is because I play with some people who are optimized power gamers. So they will consistently use their weakness tags because it's like, oh, I want, number go up. I want more experience. I want more level ups. But then it also by that same token makes their characters more dysfunctional because their weaknesses keep coming into play.
Right.
it's
So it's a
it's yeah.
really neat kind of balance of like, sure, you want to get an XP, get more tags, you got it, but you're going to fail in certain situations thanks to your weaknesses. And it's a great narrative connection. It makes the character so much more rounder than just, a character with just abilities. Um, the other things we can see here is that each character has a motivation. It's a line that defines the motivation that's related to the theme, to this particular theme. So, for example, the apothecary has, well, I couldn't just leave them sick, which is her attitude towards healing the sick. And if you don't follow this, you're starting to go down a path of replacing the theme, marking decay once, twice, and then on the third decay, every time you kind of go against your motivation, you mark decay. And on your third decay, you're going to replace the whole theme. So your whole theme lineup is going to change, your abilities are going to change, but worry not, the system does reward you for replacing a theme. You get a special kind of evolution points, and you also pretty much any tag that you had above the three in the theme that you lost, you get a free tag on the next theme or a free improvement. So or the equivalent of evolution points. So it's a really cool mechanic to be able to replace your themes. So this is pretty much the structure of a theme. That's all we're going to look at. There are also theme improvements at the bottom, which are, okay, this is refusing to move where I want it,
Mhm.
but they are actually something that we're going to kind of roll out a little later. So let's see a couple of the questions that we've had there.
And real quick, Amit, while you're answering questions, I think I should be able to increase the quality of the windows here if, it's okay to like move around the windows on the stream a little bit. Do you want to keep it the way it is, or
I
how do
think
you
it's
want?
fine. It's just a
Okay.
technical thing on my end. It won't scroll past that, but that's fine. Um, yes. So what kind of questions do we have, Kevin?
Let's see. How easy would it be to create someone's own themes and types? So outside of the like listed theme books that will be coming with the game, like mystery or possessions or something like that.
So I'm going to show a couple of theme books and theme kits here. It's very easy to create theme kits. They're basically just answering all the questions of a theme book. And even theme books are not that hard to create. So you could create your own if you wanted to expand. Of course, we're going to be providing, like in City of Mist, a very comprehensive set of themes that will cover most things that you'll need in a fantasy, if not all things that you'll need in a fantasy game. So the first thing I do when I want to propose the team, or I want to create a new theme book, is I ask myself, can it be covered by the existing theme books? Because there's no need to write a new one if there's already something that's covered.
Okay. That earlier question, by the way, was from Hador. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Next question from NAC or NAC. Is thaumaturgy and magic in of itself incorporated into different themes, or would different aspects of magic be their own theme book?
Yeah, I'm really deliberating about that actually. We're still building that. Right now, I'm at a place where I think it's going to be using other themes because magic could be, in a way, a skill or a trade or something similar to that. So I think right now that's where I am. 3 days ago, I was in a position where I was thinking that each one of them should have its own theme book. And you can rest assured that we're going to find the best way to design it and the most like concise, but at the same time that envelops all the options. And if we see that Magic needs its own theme book, then it's going to get it.
Awesome. Uh, Here's another question from, once again, I'm going to butcher this pronunciation, Jorge Ponjator. Are there other things you can get with experience, or is it limited to more tags?
Yes, so you can unlock more tags. You can unlock theme improvements, which are actually special rules that are unique to you. And these open a whole world of abilities and attachments and add-ons that you can have for a character. Really cool things that you can do that go beyond just having tags. Um, and you can also, with evolution points, which probably will be renamed, but these extra things that you get when you replace themes, um, these give you access to even greater improvements and greater changes. So yeah, there are other evolution options here.
And I think we touched on this in the previous stream, but for those who haven't seen it, Marcelo Campos asks, will you be able to get extra themes like in City of Mist?
Yeah, so right now we're thinking that these are going to be added to your backpack and you can choose which one to bring into the limelight. We talked about this. You're right, Kevin. We did talk about it in the last stream. Um, and we still want to have that feeling where you can give your players extra themes or loot catalogs, things like that, that will allow them to get more tags, but maybe not create a tag inflation situation. So yeah, there will be some kind of feature that is parallel to extra themes.
All right.
Okay,
That's most of the character related questions I'm finding in the chat. I imagine that
cool.
like at the end there's some questions that are more like broad rule space, like how does traveling work or how does like
Yeah.
transitioning from group play to solo play work that I'm seeing. But do you want to talk about some of those questions or do we want to get into creating a character?
No, let's dive into creating a character. The first thing we're
All
going to do
right.
is actually going to show you some things, some tools that we have for people who are new to this engine. I'm going to show some tools that we have from Otherscape, which is the game that we just completed and is about to be released. Just to give you a taste of what are these tools that we keep mentioning, like theme books, theme kits. What are these things? So they're really, we give you 3 layers or 3 levels of character creation that are built into the core book. And then you get more in the setting book, more options in the setting book. The first option, which you all know, are the character sheets that the pre-gens, right? I don't want to create a character. I just want to use a pre-generated character. We already released 3 of them, and there are going to be 16 altogether. So you're going to have a really nice array of pre-gens that you can just jump right in, right into the game with. The second layer is called the rapid. Okay, so rapid character creation can be done in something like 5 minutes. I'm going to show it to you now. I'm just going to show you the tool, and it's done by picking themes and tags out of a list. So we're going to, for a moment, go into the cyberpunk world, and we're going to take a look at this beta version of the Otherscape book. And just so that you can understand what are theme kits. Now, they are obviously styled to look like cyberpunk. So I want to see that we're seeing this Metro Otherscape book, and I'm going to quickly navigate to the character creation section. Um,
This is
and
an in-depth
specifically,
preview of another Son of Oak game going on right here. Y'all are getting a special
yeah,
side treat.
okay, and we're almost there. Okay, so with character creation, with rapid character creation, the first thing you're going to look at is character tropes. So character tropes are basically ideas for characters that you can just pick an idea, and the idea contains a recipe. Which theme kits should I choose? So we can see here, maybe I can somehow cancel the dual page situation. Um,
Dual page situation?
no, I'm showing two pages, and I just want to show
Yeah,
one.
it's just the cyberpunk pages that are currently online.
No, I can see that. I just want to I want to see the other side of the book. I can only see one of them. But
Oh, okay.
anyway, these the character tropes that you can see here are basically character recipes of very familiar tropes of characters. So in Cyberpunk, it's going to be the corporate war sniper and the high-tech shinobi and so on. We won't dig into it because this is not what we're here for. But what I want to specifically show you um, is what is in what a recipe like this entails. So the recipe basically tells you here, you're going to pick those three theme kits: Synthetic Guard Dog, Toughest Nails, and Warrior's Instincts. This is for the Grizzled Bodyguard. And you can choose one theme kit. Once you choose that one theme kit from Criminal Syndicate, Impressive Physique, and Law Enforcement, what you're going to get is 4 theme kits that your character is made of. That's it. You already chose your 4 themes. Now you just have to choose tags for them. So this is what we call a trope. And each one of these refers you to theme kits. Let's take a look at the theme kits. So these are theme kits. They're basically ready-made themes with all of the tags. And all you get the first one automatically, and all you have to do is pick out the other tags from the list. So you basically have pre-vetted themes, but you do have some ability to customize there. So we're going to be creating the same thing. Of course, it's going to be skinned and look like Legend in the Mist and styled like that. But we're going to be creating the same things for Legend in the Mist. There are going to be for each of the theme types. There's going to be a pool of theme kits that you can choose from. And then there's going to be also a bunch of tropes that help you with ready-made recipes. So you can put together a character really, really fast if you want to, but it's still your own. You still get to customize it. Now, if you want to do a super deep dive and create your own and make a custom character, then you'll be using the theme book. So, for example, this theme book for Horizon, which is kind of a wish or a goal that the character might have. It contains an area for concept, but it also contains this area with 10 questions. And this is really the heart of a theme kit, a theme book. It is a questionnaire that once you answer it, the questions, the answers become your tags. So for example, what is your goal or drive? What is the most useful skill you've developed to reach your horizon? What is the main weapon or tool you use in your mission? These questions, you just, let's say that you answer, what is your goal or drive? I want to kill the mafia boss. Then this becomes your tag, kill the mafia boss, and that's your tag going forward. So this is just kind of a preview of the tools that we're going to develop for character creation. Having said all this, and having looked at all of these options, pre-gen, rapid with theme kits, or custom, create really your own from scratch with theme books questionnaires, I think we kind of covered what kind of support you're going to be getting from this game for character creation. So if anyone has questions about theme books, theme kits, things like that, fire away with those, and we'll start preparing to create Gorna,
So, real
this
quick, while
character
you're
sheet.
setting up the character creation of me, Denglish Design asks, is Otherscape and Legend in the Mist the same rules with different flavor, or quite different because Legend in the Mist is more grounded?
Well, the engine itself is very similar, but each one of them has different rules that are completely unique to them. So first of all, like we saw, you're going to get a lot of completely brand new theme kits, theme books. The questionnaires are going to be rewritten to focus on the things that matter in a fantasy world. All the theme kits, there are more than 100 theme kits in the core book for Otherscape. That's probably going to be similar for Legend in the Mist. All of this content is going to be completely unique to Legend in the Mist and different. In terms of rules that are unique, you have a few of them, but one of the things that's probably going to be only in Legend in the Mist, it's not in Otherscape, is that having different theme types is going to give you a very specific type of power over other characters. So if you're an adventuring character, you can probably deal with more threats that are on the origin level. For example, if you think about how many orcs Aragorn can deal with, you know, when we see him in the movies or in the books, because he's from another level. And of course, when he faces someone that's on his level, it's a different kind of challenge. So this whole system that right now I'm labeling with the temporary name Might, um, these levels, these Might levels, are going to be completely unique to Legend in the Mist, and there are a couple of other things. But also everything I said before, there is a ton of like character creation content, theme improvements, a million and one things that are going to be completely crafted uniquely for Legend in the Mist, even if the core engine and the core role is the same.
And apologies for the inevitable mispronunciation of this name. Matvey Dovitsin, kind of a weird question, but will it be possible to use characters created using Otherscape themes in Legend in the Mist? I think I can answer that one. You could, but you're going to have a cyberpunk character in your rustic fantasy game. So if you're okay with someone having an assault rifle in, the the legally nondescript Shire, then go for it.
Yeah.
But the basic game engine is at its core is the same, and then like the greater rules come in when the flavor differentiates. Um, Speaking of these theme books, there are some people asking, will there be basically what is on the screen here, the blank character sheet theme book released, and if so, will it be like released when like the product is released, or will we be putting out a like blank rubric soonish? What's the timeline on that, Amit?
We're probably going to do a fillable character sheet as soon as we have some kind of an initial thing to put out. I can't promise that it will be immediately, but yeah, we're definitely going to be putting in a fillable character sheet. At some point, we're probably going to release also this graphic character sheet for people who want to publish things on the garage or use it in their home games. It's probably going to also be supported in some of our um, VTT support and stuff like that. But yeah, we'll try to get a character sheet out as soon as possible, of course, so you can start creating your characters for this game. So, unless are there any other questions?
There's a few questions here and there that Actually, helpfully enough, the chat is answering some of these questions as I'm like reading them. Appreciate that, chat. I'm glad that we have a community of people that are helping each other out.
We
And
have a
speak.
great community.
Oh yeah, and
That's good.
speaking of, if any of you are not already on the City of Mist Discord, I would highly advise you to check it out and join it. Not only do people talk about City of Mist, but also Son of Oak's other games, such as the upcoming Otherscape, as well as Legend in the Mist. There are channels to talk about this project specifically. So if you aren't already in the Discord and like talking to people about these games, definitely check it out. So Amit, do you
Oh,
want to get
yeah.
into character creation?
Let's get into character creation. So we're going to start by picking out the themes for Gorna. This is a really interesting process because you could really do a theme for almost every aspect in this character. But picking out themes requires you to choose what to focus on. So I'm going to open the Tinderbox demo,
Mhm.
and we're gonna scroll down to the section where we've included what we expect to be the theme kits. Sorry, the theme types
Mhm.
for this game.
And
Um,
while you're scrolling down
right.
real quick, for those of you who are just joining our stream, we are going to be going through creating a character with the current Legend in the Mist rules. Specifically, the character we are creating was voted on by the Kickstarter backers. This is Gorna and Truffles, correct? So,
Yes.
Gorna is an aspiring chef with an appetite for adventure, wandering the dales in search of the best recipes and ingredients. Accompanying him for the ride is the giant boar Truffles, who carries their stockpile of ingredients and cooking supplies and also protects Gorna from danger. Together, these two gourmands are on a quest to cook every dish in the dales and share good food with everyone they meet on the way. If you want to do a dungeon meshy crossover character in your Legend of the Mist, can't go wrong with Gorna. I'm so excited. Let's do
Absolutely.
this. I
Yeah.
just started watching that show, by the way, so I'm already in that mindset.
I know, it's totally appropriate here. It's really that. Yeah,
Mhm,
so Gorna and Truffles, this is a pitch from Kendall Wilson, our game designer, one of the intern game designers. And I loved it from the moment I saw it. It's just so cute and adorable. What I really like about this character is it's actually a social powerhouse character because the concept of the character is that they can really influence people by offering them food. And so this is one of the aspects that we're going to try and lean into. Um, so the first thing is, I think that we could more or less say that this character is very much an origin character. It's kind of it's basically somewhat a Dales person that is roaming the Dales. They may have not traveled outside of the Dales yet. They don't know a lot about what's going on in the bigger world. And that's kind of my first cue that they don't really tap into adventure or greatness themes. Um, so I'm going to be focusing on origin themes for this one, and if we'll have time, we might do another one. But let's see how this goes. Um, so we have our origin themes. Let's go over them. We have circumstance, your background, standing, or way of life. Past, something important that happened to you. Devotion, a person, group, or ideal to whom you are loyal. Mystery, a secret about you. People, your heritage, tribe, culture, or nation. Possessions, items in your possession. Personality, your temperament, behavior, or style. Trade and skill, something you do well. Trait, an inherent quality unique to you. This is like if you're very strong or very beautiful or very um, quick. And hedge magic, you can use one of the other things. So there are certain things that really pop. Like to me, it's actually negative. There are things that I see that are not really relevant for Gorna. So past, for example, Gorna isn't really a character from the description that sounds like they're defined by their past. Mystery is another thing. It's not necessarily a character that feels like they have a really big mystery behind them. Probably the most important thing about Gorna is their cooking and truffles. So these are the two things that I would choose first. For their cooking, we can take trade or skill.
sounds about right.
And For Truffles, we can either take devotion, which is all your relationships. It includes also your relationships. But I think that we will be adding a companion theme book for this. Not sure yet, but I think that this will be necessary, and that this specific theme book could be from different categories, because you could have a companion that's on the origin level, or you could have a companion that's on the greatness level. What if your character has a huge giant buddy, or a dragon buddy, or a demon buddy that changes the world? There's a lot of fantasy characters that have that. And that kind of pushes you into greatness, even if your character is mostly an origin character. So that could be an interesting combination. We're going to have to look at it. We also got a lot of requests for an ally theme type, or rules for allies from the solo player community. So that's definitely something that's going to combine with that pretty well. So we can just say that it's a companion theme books. We don't have the theme books and the questions. We won't be using them. You will be using them when you have the core book. But right now we're just going to go freeform. So we can say whatever theme kit, whatever theme type that we want to choose here. So I have trade and skill, and I have companion. So I can be inputting these into our thing, but first and foremost, I might want to ask you guys to, in the meantime, in the background, in the chat, please suggest more theme types to complete the 4 themes for Gorna. So I'm going to quick save a copy of this. Before I start working, and here we go.
Question I'm actually seeing a lot pop up in the chat that people are talking about is broad tags. Now, for those of you who have not played, City of Mist before, but understand what instead of stats, people have these descriptors called tags. A rule in City of Mist is that each character can have one broad tag, which is a tag that can be used for exactly what it says, like an incredible amount of situations to the point of being near broken. So there is a limit in City of Mist of 1 broad tag per character. Will that limit be carrying over, Amit, to Legend in the Mist, or will there be a new rule on broad tags?
Yeah, so we flexed it a little bit in this engine. You still definitely have that limit. You definitely don't want to have tags that are too broad. That doesn't do anything for us, like things like lucky, and then you get +1 for everything, or magic spells, and then you can make a magic spell for anything. However, we do also give you a tool to preserve these super broad tags, or just generally broad tags, by making them inherently indirect. So we'll talk about the system a little bit more later, but when you roll and you add your tags, only directly helpful tags or directly impeding tags affect the power of your roll. And let's say that you're smart and you're shooting, and you're kind of like, I'm smart, I can find a weakness. So I want to add this tag to this roll. Your MC is going to say to you, that's indirectly related. So what you're going to have to do is to take another preparatory, interim, whatever you want to call it, another roll in order to create directly related tags. For example, if I'm trying to shoot at someone and I know I'm smart and I can actually identify a weakness, the MC is going to say, why don't you roll for identifying weakness first, and then create the tag weakness on that target, and then you can use that tag for your shooting roll, which is going to follow it. So this is a mechanism that's really simple. By adding another roll, it just makes really broad tags usable without without breaking the balance, because that roll could fail and that roll can generate consequences. So you're taking a risk by using those indirect tags.
All right, so the share screen is coming in a little blurry, and I believe I can fix it, but the windows will be catawampus for just a moment. Is that fine to me?
Sure, I can just zoom in. I think it's easier for me to zoom in.
Cool. Give me one
Uh,
moment.
Kevin, I'm zooming in, so it's okay. You don't
Okay.
have to do it. I think this should come in a little better. Let me know when you see it. And our first one is cook. Now, you want to give it sometimes a little more flavor. Is this too zoomed in now?
We're zoomed in on the top. We can see the title and the theme, so we're good.
Okay, great. So we have the cook theme. We can give it a little bit more flavor later maybe, but right now our main tag is going to be cook. Whenever I'm cooking something, I'm going to have a +1 with Gorna. I want that because in a fantasy setting, I'm going to be doing a lot of things, and I'm not always going to be cooking. But when I'm cooking, or when I'm talking about cooking, or when I'm learning things that are related to cooking, I definitely want to get that +1. Now I'm going to try and create other tags that are related to cooking, kind of like specializations or tools or specific things that will trigger in more specific situations. So cook is kind of like a little broader, but still not too broad. Um, and now we can maybe come up with tags. Maybe you guys can come up with tags. What does this character need to have um, that will kind of enhance their cooking? I think that I'm already thinking of a tag like something like find ingredients or something like that. Forage for ingredients. I do think though that that's going to be a part of you know what, let's put it here and let's give Truffles some other abilities. So I'm gonna say forage for ingredients. So this is an interesting tag. It's not going to be useful when I cook, but it's actually going to be useful for when I try to generate tags for cooking. So I can go and I can maybe add these things to my backpack theme. It's going to be used more in like collection actions rather than the actual act of cooking. Do people have ideas for tags here?
I'm actually seeing some the a common theme that's kind of popping up here. Curtis Thornton says pots and pans. Pista Alcohol says can handle as like a sharp object, or a knife. There's kind of a like, all right, what's the tool that's being used for cooking, but also could be used for, I don't know, other things like a thing attacking you.
Yeah, I really like pots and pans because it's not as on the nose as a knife, which also is a great thing to have. And probably he does have a knife. But I like pots and pans because there's going to be that moment when he slams the pot on some some minor minion's head and gets rid of them, which I think is really cute. And I think
Mhm.
that's kind of like something that definitely the character should have. I would maybe even put knife as one of the um, like a paring knife. That's definitely a cook's thing or a cleaver. I would put it as one of the upcoming tags later.
Now,
So this is, yeah, go ahead.
real quick, audience. Basically what we already have with like cook, forage for ingredients, pots and pans, that's already a
That's
near
it.
filled out theme for like a
That's it.
character. Like we would just need to do the weakness tag and we're good to go. The other
Yes.
three below that would be potential future tags for the theme. Now
Yes.
the pre-gen character sheets have those in there just in case you're playing with the pre-gen. It already lays out the options for development. But during play, you don't need to fill out these, like future tags. These can always
No.
be just something in the back of your head.
Yeah, exactly. These are not actually a part of character creation. In the theme kit, you have ten tags, but you only pick out two more in addition to the first one. So yeah, you don't have to pre-make your tags. Absolutely not. You only make the ones that you're going to use. But let's talk about a weakness tag for a cook. It's actually not, it doesn't really come like right off the top of my head.
My
Um,
my immediate thought is something almost like a personality weakness, like get out of my kitchen. like just an inability to accept help while cooking, or perhaps like broadly for like other things. But I have definitely known cooks where it's like you come in and you're just like, oh hey, what are you doing, and they almost like slap you with the ladle, like get out of my kitchen. That's
Okay, that's
my
good. So,
immediate thought for a cook weakness. But what's chat looking at right now?
well,
Let's
I'm
see.
gonna take that and just go with it for a minute because this is a great example. When you create weakness tags and power tags, you're always going to want to think about when is it going to be used, when is it going to be invoked. So, and what kind of, more specifically, what kind of actions is it going to weaken? So, here, if we're putting something like this, like get out of my kitchen, it's only going to weaken actions when someone is trying to talk to them while they are cooking. And I would like it a little broader so the player can invoke it more often. But it could be something like chef's pride. So if someone has insulted their cooking, they are going to be incurring a -1 until they figure it out, you know?
Some other weaknesses that the chat is suggesting. Where did I put that ingredient from Apu Gonzalez? Cook's temper from T.W. Brown. Something is missing from Mark Hillengus. Uh, Too many cooks from Toxin Frog. Once again, kind of going back into that whole like
All of these are great.
yeah, there's a lot of chef's pride like adjacent stuff coming up. Let's see here. Yeah, too many cooks, too many chefs in the kitchen, artistic temperament from Leon Glazer, uh, Seinfeld reference from Greg Cherry, no soup for you.
No,
There...
so weird.
Oh, ooh, I like this one. From Magishura Matcha, salty chef.
Salty chef, very good. All of these are amazing. I'm going to take one of them um, and say not a lot to work with. And this is to say that I explicitly want this character to have a -1 whenever they don't have fresh ingredients, whenever they don't have, whenever they're trying to activate their cooking abilities, for example, in a prison cell, and they have, very little to work with, they're going to have an extra -1. But this is just one option. You guys have come up with great things. Now we're going to want to ask what kind of motivation can we give this? And it's a little bit in the description and the concept of the character that this character wants to find and cook every recipe in the Dales. So I think this is a great motivation for this character. Um, this is one option. Of course, you guys can come up with other motivations. But and let's hear it in the chat. But the motivation at the end of the day has to be something that drives the character to take a specific kind of action that's closely connected to this theme. So something like I have to
People
try it, or something, something with like, what do you guys think?
Yeah, some people are bringing up Dungeon Meshi again, where the main character had this like obsession with eating monsters.
Eating
Like it's like
monsters, yeah.
I've got to try it. I've got to see it for myself.
Sure.
Um, but also a motivation could be, going back to like chef's pride. It's like every dish must be perfect. Oh, this I have to try. I like that.
We're just gonna use this for now, but you can see how you can really create different types of characters with the same theme. Like if we had made him a really like an angry chef, that's a different character to you know to a chef that's kind of maybe more um jolly, but has to try everything. So this is one theme that we can save and move on. And theme number 2, we talked about maybe creating a companion theme.
So We're so audience, usually when creating these themes, you either, as we said in the beginning of the stream, you can either go with like a theme kit that already has like examples written out. You can choose that, or you can do with the theme book, which has the questions per each like tag category. So it's like, all right, I'm doing the companion theme book, and the companion theme book itself would have a list of questions that you would pick and choose and answer in order to create your tags. Right now, because we do not have those questions, we're doing free form where we're just thinking about like, all right, what are cool tags that could be used in this theme book just off the top of our dome. I've heard that some people also like when they're doing character creation, like City of Mist will also do it that kind of way, and so it's just a less structured approach to character creation. Um, so with the hypothetical companion theme book here, of course, the first tag has to be Truffles the boar. Um, and so the tags that we're going to be coming up with here are, what does having a boar companion help you out with?
Absolutely. And they will be so interestingly, when you have a companion theme, the theme describes the companion. It can also describe your relationship with the companion and how your ability to influence that companion's choices and decisions. And you normally so a companion is what we call a secondary character. It's another player character that you control. This could happen on a more permanent level, like one of your character themes, which is the most permanent level that you can have in the game. Or it could even be a summon that when you use create, for example, to the effect create, to create a bunch of tags of like something that you summoned, whether you actually conjured it by magic or whether you just rallied some friends and created a little militia or something like that. So these are represented by tags, and these are all secondary characters that you control. So when these characters act, you actually roll for them in the same way that you would roll for yourself, and you use their tags. So you want to have a couple of tags to represent what these secondary characters can do and what they're best at. So Truffles in general, whenever Truffles does something, because they're such a main part of Gorna's character, the player's going to get +1 to their power for an action that involved Truffles. Now, of course, Truffles has to be directly related to the action. So it's either an action that Truffles is taking or an action where really, Truffles is significant. For example, if Gorna rides Truffles into battle, that could give them, or into anything, into a dance or a festival that and is trying to impress everyone, that would still give you a +1. But if Truffles is only indirectly related, that won't give you a +1, as we discussed. Now, what are the other things that we want to highlight that the Truffles is really good at? The first thing I'm going to say, because it's a truffle-seeking boar, I'm definitely going to want to say something like acute sense of smell. What do you think?
Just the chat, it has a lot of suggestions actually for truffles. Everyone's very excited about truffles.
Let's do
Uh,
it. Truffles.
so some
I
of
want to
them,
hear it all.
I'm just gonna read it. I'm just gonna read them off rapid fire.
Yeah.
Boar's might, great digger, scare bad guys, dig it up, best nose in the dales, sick 'em. Let's see here.
Got it. Ridiculous one.
Extra supplies, sniff 'em out, too cute to fry, got the trace. Uh, Emergency food source. I wouldn't use that as a tag, but thank you for the
Oh
suggestion
my
on that.
goodness.
Sharp tusks. Once again, best nose in the dales. Intimidation. So there's a lot of like. One thing that you brought up, Amit, that I think is very interesting is like, even though this is like a companion theme, like this is basically like your right arm. This is someone who's always by your side. The tags you fill out give them different roles. Like this, a companion who is your trusty horse that is your mount versus your companion that is your pig that you mostly use for foraging ingredients are going to be built completely differently. And it is because of like what tags you want to focus on for that companion. And not to say that, if we didn't have a like great mount tag on Truffles, you wouldn't be able to ride Truffles, but you won't gain any mechanical benefit besides, from the Truffles tag in and of itself, because you haven't built Truffles for riding.
Yeah, totally. Exactly. Yeah, so really the tags you choose are really important. I always we always kind of talk about it in the team about the utility of the tag. What is the utility of the tag? How are you going to use it? When are you going to invoke it? In what actions are you going to invoke it? And that kind of, like you said, it defines what this character is going to be best at. So I just took a couple. There were great ones. Best Nose in the Dales is just a killer. I love it.
All right,
And I think
so
Sharp, yeah,
well,
isn't it?
yeah, I think that's great. So chat while we're talking, what are some good weakness tags that we could use for
Yeah,
Truffles?
start working on that. Sharp tusks are definitely. I feel like what I love about this is that it's super clear. I know exactly how I'm going to use this tag. It's not too vague, which I think is great, and it's a very good thing to have also for inter-group communications. Your MC needs to know what the tags are going to do. You need to know what the tags are going to do. So it's really cool to have really clear tags. And of course, you can add to it as you gain XP. So you're going to expand into other things. Maybe then Truffles becomes an expert writing beast. Maybe his strength, like you want another tag for that, even though Truffles already encompasses all that. But you might want to have a +2 instead of a +1. So you add Boar's Might, as one of you has suggested. What about the
So
weakness?
some weakness tags: troublesome appetite, protective, always hungry, gets into everything, berserker rage, pig's pugnacity. Uh,
Yeah.
we got large and smelly, troublemaker, emotional eater, can't resist a treat, paid in food. Uh, let's see, large and smelly shows up again. Stubborn. I really like pig's pugnacity.
Yeah, me too.
I
I wrote it down.
like the alliteration on that.
Yeah, it's so good. Um, yeah, so next thing is of course the motivation. And here we need something that in a way, when you have a relationship theme, it's kind of what the companion wants from you. And if you stop acting in that way, or if you start acting regularly against that motivation, the companion will be lost, or they'll leave, or they'll perish, or something terrible will happen to them. So, what does Truffles want from Gorna that I feel like he's a part of his fun and is a part of his like rolling in the mud? That's a part of Gorna's um, kind of um, I don't know,
Oh,
wild side.
oh, I really,
People say
I kind of like Mighty Glaciers here. Every chef needs a sous chef.
every chef needs a sous chef. That's great. I'm trying to think. Maybe we can ask you. When do you think this is going to be triggered? When do you think, what kind of things will be going against every chef has a sous chef?
Mm, that is a good point. It's a nice phrase, but like now that you mention it, it would be hard for me as like a GM to think like, all right, when are you going against the sous chef motivation? I think that would be whenever your character treated Truffles as a pig rather than a partner. Like I think the motivation, especially in a companion theme, has to go around like what do you see this companion as? Why, like as well as like why do you keep them around? And so
Yeah,
treating your companion differently, like as a different like person or even as a tool,
yeah.
would definitely go against that a kind of like
Yeah.
motivation.
I
Uh,
think it could be that's a great motivation. I think it could be slightly fine-tuned in the way that it's phrased so that we hit that point that you just mentioned, Kevin. I would also say something like always, this is a ripoff, but always follow your nose.
ooh,
For me, Truffles is like the wild side of Gorna. And, imagine that Gorna has suddenly in the forest smells a tantalizing smell, and they just have to know what it is. It's a little too similar to the other one, so we have to balance the motivations across the board. But I feel like if they didn't go, if he forced Truffles not to follow their nose, that would kind of be like this is not what I signed up for. Like I wanna go sniff that. And this is just where I am right now. But obviously everyone can play with that a little bit. Unless we have other really good suggestions, I would say what are other themes? We still only have two themes.
So can we since we're talking about the other themes, can we switch over to the theme list again, just so people have an
Yes,
idea of
let's
what
do
our
it. Mhm.
current list is? We're also doing this free form, so it's like what other aspects of this character would be important besides them being a cook and having a pig by their side, which is what we started out with. So now we are in the open territory here. Who-
Hmm. So
Um,
the thing that's missing for me, and I want to hear from the chat, but the thing that's really missing for me is the social aspect of this. I'd really want to see a personality theme that talks about feeding others. Um,
mm.
but what other suggestions are we getting from the chat?
Let's see. We're seeing personality and trait. Those are the big ones popping up right now. Is either like personality, like you said, with like what is their personality as like a cook. I'm also seeing traits for like their build or like their body type. Let's
Yeah.
see. We're also seeing Apu Gonzalez suggests duty for like that's their like mission is like finding the best ingredients. Or duty feed the hungry from Denisphere. Greg Cherry is throwing a ball to the end of the field with a lost love. If we wanted to add something a little bit more spicy to the character, um, let's see. Oh,
Okay, cool. Let's
yeah.
go with that. Let's start with the personality, and then we'll see what else comes up. So just so we are kind of in the, oops, that's not the way to do it. Let's open this card now.
How dare you?
How dare you? Okay. So we have theme number three, and we're gonna make it a personality theme that revolves around um Gorna's ability to really reach people through food. I've seen some interesting variations on that. Things like um,
I
what did I
think
see
the
over there? Oh, like be my guest.
yeah. I think the interesting thing to figure out here, since we're going with personality, is like, what kind of chef is Gordo? Are we going, Martha Stewart, or are we going more Gordon Ramsay on Hell's Kitchen? Or
Well,
or are we doing sort of a middle ground of like Gordon Ramsay on Kitchen Nightmares, where he's not yelling at people, but he's being very stern and helpful. Yes, by the way, I believe that those are two entirely separate Gordon Ramsays. Uh,
fair
they
enough.
they keep them in separate rooms, so they never talk to each other.
Yeah. Well, I think that I don't know. I think that we from the description, it's really about accessing people, and I don't like feel that neither of these types, these chefs are like very put together, and they're very like the boss kind of chef, or like
Hmm.
I'm in control kind of chef. I'm envisioning this character as someone that's very much more accessible. It's like just kind of putting a plate of something in your face and having you eat it and getting you in, and just like and doing that even to adversaries and villains. Here is something I made. So just stick it in their face. It smells great. It changes their
Mm.
mood, like something, because that's a really interesting character. It's really a character that can charm other, if you want to put it like in a classic RPG style. It's a character that can charm other characters by using simply food. Lord knows that works on me, so I know it works on many other people.
So,
So
so definitely more of like a grandparent chef, where it's like you show up to their
yes,
house and you don't get a say whether you are going to eat. Like you show up at their
yes,
house, you're going to eat their food.
absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what attracted me in this pitch, in the sense that it's a totally different gameplay style from it's like a support character, but at the same time what he does is mostly charm the adversaries. So I would say either be my guest or feed others, or one of these things. Each one of them is great. we're gonna have to whoop, we're gonna have to do a little bit of modifying here. um so
If I
that's
start
be my
singing the
guest.
song, we'll get demonetized.
Yeah. We can also just do something without the song, but the idea is I'm shoving a plate of food in your face. One of the things that could be great for creating a tag is specific situations where this is more powerful than normal. Um, well, Tavan is saying, I think be my guest could be motivation. I think that's cool. I like that.
Hmm.
Feeding others is or feed others or tantalizing meals. I don't know.
Hmm. There's a lot of different ways that this could be phrased. I'm seeing a lot of them in the chat right now. Warm oven, warm heart. Sharing is caring.
Ooh, I
Uh,
love warm up and warm heart.
Mark Hillengast says perfect host. Uh, let's
Yeah,
see. Yeah.
let's. I don't know about perfect, but because I'm feeling with truffles trailing behind with muddy footprints. Perfect is
Yeah.
not the word for it, but I like what it's saying. Warm oven, warm heart really resonates here, but it's not so clear when you will invoke it. What if you don't have an oven?
See, no one goes hungry. I think we're trying to find phrasing for like aggressively welcoming. Um,
Yeah, let's just skip with. Well, let's
yeah,
just
let's
stay
just
with
go.
those for now.
Yeah.
And we'll tweak that later as we work on this character. What other situations will make you an even better host, or what other aspects of this hospitality aspect of Gorna are we going to highlight?
Let's see. Tr- I'm seeing like we could have like a kid focus because there's some people in the chat being like, no kid left hungry. Um,
Yeah.
there's also
Another thing,
some yeah.
we could also do something like captive audience. Like if your enemies have nowhere to go, and
God.
you're cornering them with food, then you're even more powerful than you would have been.
Oh, real quick, perfect host got a typo.
Oh yeah, sorry. Perfect. These are just examples of things that could happen. Another example that could be in the vein of situational things could be time to prepare. If I had time to prepare and I'm not just whipping out a meal real fast, then it's more powerful.
Yeah.
Um,
Sort of a Batman tag, if you would, as long as you got prep time.
Yeah, as long as you got pleasant, you got yes, you want seconds, says TW round. That's cool. Awesome. Um, what about weakness tag for someone who's the perfect host, for someone who really wants to engage with people through food? Um,
Yeah, I mean, once again, I'm coming back to like get out of my kitchen, where it's like if you are the perfect host, like if you're coming up to someone and being like aggressively being like eat my food, then if there's anyone else who is contributing to like the food, it gets a little bit harder to like allow for that space. Um, I
so is
think
it
the
something
yeah.
like a competitive kind of nature or
It could be a competitive nature. It could also be like, the weakness tag could be like if someone refuses, your food, you take that personally, um, or something along those lines. Let's see. Yeah, we
oh look
got
at that. Picky eaters. I love that.
picky. Ooh, no, that's a weakness right there.
So one thing you can put in weakness tags are subsets of adversaries or targets that this theme would not work so well against. And definitely picky eaters are going to tick the heck out of Gorna because they don't want to try this and they don't want to try that or they wouldn't have that. No. So that's one thing. And of course, it can also be generalized to, maybe I don't want to eat whatever you cook. Maybe I want to eat you and your boar right now because I'm a huge and monstrous creature of Twilight that wants to devour you. So that's definitely not going to be easy for Gorna to use their skills against that.
I
And I
still want to see
think,
that. Oh, I still want to see that reality show at some point, like one like an Iron Chef show, but instead of like serving the meals to like food critics and acclaimed chefs, it's like 8-year-olds who have picky preferences. Like you have all the ingredients in the world, but can you serve something that Lil Timmy likes more than McDonald's?
Wow, that is challenging. That would be very challenging, I believe. I think probably you don't see it because that's not going to last very. People are going to be just shot down too
I
fast.
I would watch that for that exact reason.
Well, that leaves us with one more theme to go. Or probably can really make these tags better, especially with your suggestions that have been really, really great. But I guess the last question is what's going to be, well, the next question is what's going to be the last uh, theme?
Can you pull over to the list of theme books again, real quick, Amit?
Yeah, let's do that. So people have suggested some things from the adventure level, which will make him more than an origin character. Um, I don't know if I want to go down that path. Possessions could give him a lot of like ingredients, things like that.
Hmm.
That could give him a lot of bonuses for cooking-based roles. I like the idea of trait, of giving him a certain body type or something that could really be interesting um, to support that.
if we
Um,
if we wanted to add like a magical flair to it, like sticking to the origin theme books, there could be some like hedge magic of just like, oh, these are some like spices unknown to man, lost to time. But I did also see some people in the chat earlier when we were going over the third theme of suggesting like the relic theme from the adventure. Like if we wanted to start out this cook with like a magic ladle or a magic cauldron or something like that, feel like a magic cauldron would be a little bit hard to carry on an adventure. But that's
well, you have
this.
it. You have a boar. You have a
You do have a boar. You do
thinking of
have
a
a
boar.
boar. Let's see. All right, so just glancing at the chat, we got possessions for like a portable kitchen, the stocky build for a trait theme book, a relic theme book for a cornucopia of plenty. Let's see. Ooh, a mystery theme book, like a for oh, a like making a new recipe, like a spicy mystery. Like this is like another motivation that this cook is going over.
Yeah,
Like what's the recipe that I haven't made yet?
yeah,
A relic for a magical pan, a mystery for uncovering your family recipe. Um, a lot of different things that could be done here.
yeah. I would definitely go with either a mystery or I like the stocky build. I think that it's interesting to have characters with different body types
Hmm.
and to see what kind of power that gives them, and what abilities. Um, but I also like the idea of having that he has a packet of spice that is actually he doesn't know where it's from. It's a family spice bag or a family, I don't know, something like that, that is actually quite interesting and something maybe magical starts happening with it. But we could try that just to give it a little bit
Mm.
of a magical flair for this character. Um, so it's going to be a mystery theme, and we're going to go with maybe something like that. So if we go with family spice bag, this is a good opportunity to explore magic themes. Okay, there are many different magic systems that you'll be able to reflect with this game. And here, this is a classic hedge magic um, um, theme where it's not overtly magic, but maybe you can achieve some interesting abilities or interesting effects with something that is kind of touching on the borders of being magical. So the real question is what to do with the tags. Okay, I have a family spice bag that obviously can empower my cooking, but do I have a kind of an understanding with my MC that it can empower my cooking into magical effects? Maybe I can create food that can heal or can lift spirits more than just normal food. Maybe I can create food that will put people to sleep. And the same thing as what food could do, but kind of like taken to an uncanny level. Like people have 3 bites and they fall asleep. So this is what hedge magic is. It's just kind of circling around it. And now we want to focus on it. So like tags in a magical theme could be specific categories or schools of magic that your character is good at. And they could also be specific abilities or magic spells or conditions or ingredients that improve that. But this is already an ingredient. So what do you think?
Hmm.
We have
So
unusual glimmers, calming flavor. Yeah, that's definitely uncontrolled sneezing. I'm taking
yeah,
that's
if you wanted
awesome.
to weaponize some spice.
You want to weaponize spies, uncontrolled sneezing. So the player in the way that this magic system is forming around the spice bag, they're not actually limited to uncontrolled sneezing, but this is something they know how to do well. It's like you want to call it a memorized spell or something like that, or a known spell. It's like something that they have extra power because they know which part of the spice is in the spice bag to use to get that effect. And as they gain experience with this theme, they can gain additional effects. Um, what
Hmm.
else? We have flash fry.
Triggered allergies, too full to move, smelling salts. Smelling salts is interesting as a sort of like a recovery tag. Like this person's
Yeah,
unconscious, you can
yeah,
use these spices to like help them out or get them out of some sort of like charmed condition or something like that.
yeah, absolutely. I think smelling salts is really good. It's a totally different utility thing. It's just does, like you said, Kevin, completely
Hmm.
different things. It's not weaponized. It's a restore tag that you can combine with family spice bag to get +2 when you're trying to wake someone up, like you said. I think this is great. There are
Hmm.
so many options. Mace of sleepiness. I really like too full to move. That's just like shutting down whoever eats whatever they make. I really like these things. A lot of options here, a lot of room to grow. So you can see you're kind of starting at a baseline place with these themes, but you have so many ideas to where it can go.
Ooh,
What about a
weakness.
weakness tag?
I wouldn't want to do something like run out of spice because you can only do that once, especially since we're angling this as sort of like this a mystery theme.
Yeah.
As a mystery theme, like the first thought that like hmm, I well, I guess so. First thought when it comes to my mind for the motivation, I guess, is like the motivation is like what distant land do these spices come from? But in terms of
Mm.
a weakness tag, I would think something like getting it in your eyes. It's like spice on the fingers or something like that. I don't know how to specifically put that in gameplay. I guess it was like you fail a roll and it's like, hey, so you accidentally touched your eyes after touching the family spice bag. Um,
Right. But it
let's
has
see.
to be it has to be kind of it has to give you a -1 to your action. It actually has to impede what you're doing.
Oh, true.
So we have
Let's
spice flow, unexpected results, unintended reaction. These are good, but you want to know when to trigger them.
Mm-mm.
So I would say, how about we lean into what you said, Kevin, about the mystery of where it comes from, and I would say attracts Twilight.
Ooh. Now that's
And
because that's already very interesting because it's like one that's going to mess you up if you're trying to like sneak around creatures of twilight, but also that is an inherent mystery right there. It's like I have this family spice bag and for some reason monsters really like this spice and it also makes monsters taste really good, but that's a side effect. What like I'm immediately drawn to like what is this spice? Like, is the spice evil? But it makes good taste. How can it be evil if it tastes great? I am immediately compelled.
right, right. So it's like, what's going on with this? You read it and you're immediately like, this is something I can work with. And it's also really clear the anti-utility that it has. Like if you're sneaking around monsters, if you're um, trying to, just have them not notice you, or if even on a journey, this could be something like you're walking around with a bag of spice that's attracting monsters, like a role to traverse land, like we discussed. Yeah, so that could be a really interesting thing.
Oh, and
Um,
for those of you who are joining us and aren't familiar with a broader Legend of the Mist nomenclature, the monsters that sometimes appear and roam the land are colloquially known as creatures of twilight. So that's what we mean by attracts twilight with this specific weakness tag.
yeah, basically attracts creatures of twilight. Great. So we could also do a motivation for this. Um, maybe like find something, discover something, or learn the secrets of the bag, or the spice. But
If we
I
want to
think
go full Dune, the spice must flow. Like you're trying to find more of this spice.
yeah, that could really work. Um, and I think that we really should be going to the system part of this because we only have about half an hour left. So this is our character, Gorna. We may do other streams for Kinsey later on. I think everybody wants to see a little bit what it looks like to be playing a creature of Twilight. That could be really interesting to explore. But I think that at this point we're going to put a pin in this character and try to maybe get some questions about the system itself. So just to kind of give everyone a final look of this character, we have Cook, which is a trade or skill theme. We have a companion theme for Truffles. We have Perfect Host as a personality, and we have the family spice bag for the mystery. We also looked at maybe doing trait, but this is a great character. I think that it already has a lot of story in it. It already has a lot of possible evolutions and dramatic moments. Imagine if you at any point had to sacrifice Truffles, that would be a traumatic event for
Oof.
everyone at the table.
If you were to replace the Truffles theme, like it wouldn't have to be that like Truffles is dead. It could just be like, hey, Truffles can't adventure, you guys. We got to send Truffles back to the farm. Truffles is gonna be there when we get back, but for right
Or
now, like,
maybe like let him run free in a field
oh
of
no,
truffles
bye
or
bye
something.
Truffles.
Anyway,
Uh,
that would be instant heartbreak. So do not try this at home.
hmm.
But
So
yeah,
do we want to get into the questions real quick?
yeah, let's do that.
Cool.
I will maybe give a very quick overview of the engine. We did cover it. This is the adventure. We did cover it previously on the stream. We did an actual play, and we explained the rules a little bit. But just to kind of come back to how you play this game, there's really two things that you need to know on a higher level, and then we can start delving into all the questions you had. I know people had questions about statuses and how they stack. That's definitely something that's really easy to show. But the two core things that you kind of start with is the establish action consequence rhythm of the conversation. Whereas when you play a scene, you kind of go through this loop, the basic loop of the game, where the MC presents the scene and presents the threats in the scene, and also, sorry, the challenges in the scene, and then in some cases makes threats, which are a specific game term for when you say the bandit is running at you with a spear. That's a threat. Then one of the one of the players will receive the spotlight. The spotlight is a form of initiative. It's like a loose initiative where everybody gets to act before another round begins. But the order of acting is not so critical. It's more like a movie or a book where you choose what to focus on at any given moment. So the established phase ends with giving the spotlight to one of the players. One of the players takes action, and we're going to talk about that more in depth. And this action can have different aspects. But at the end of that action, the action may also generate consequences. Or if the threat was ignored, consequences are generated by that, by the fact that the threat was ignored, and the MC delivers consequences for each and every action that you take. Unless you did not ignore the threat, you addressed the threat, and your action didn't generate consequences, then you're safe. In the consequences phase, there is also a mitigate step where if you got consequences with effects, the MC can allow you to roll to prevent those or mitigate those. And this is basically the loop that keeps on going each time with another player and then cycling through the players in the group. This is like a high level, the game loop from a high level perspective. So I wonder if there are any questions about this, but if so, please feel free to put them in the chat. Generally, the next step when you explain the game is how to take action. How do you take action in the game? So action has 3 layers that you don't have to, are not necessarily all being used in every role. The first one is narration. You always start with explaining what you're doing, describing what your character is doing. So unlike many other games where you choose an ability to activate, here you start from the description. The second layer of it is the role. Sometimes if you're trying to do something dramatic, if you're just looking around, if you're just moving around, if you're just talking to someone in a casual way, you don't need to make a roll yet. Great. You narrated your action, the action takes place, and you move on. If you are doing something dramatic, you're going to have to roll the dice. And the roll is always the same exact roll. You roll 2d6 and you add a number called power. And your power is different for every action. It's kind of like the sum of all factors that affect this action, focusing on your tags and sometimes your statuses. Every positive tag that you have increases your power by 1, and every negative power that you have, directly positive and directly negative, decreases your power by 1. And when you roll and you add your power, if your outcome is 6 or less, it's only consequences. If it's 10 or more, it's only the benefits of your action. Your action succeeds, basically. And if it's 7 to 9, it's both success and consequences. Finally, so for these roles, just doing narration and roll are enough to determine most things in the game. They're like a skill check in other games. It's just like, right now, I just need to know if this worked or didn't work and what were the consequences. Sometimes, however, especially when you have a kind of a play-by-play or a blow-by-blow conflict, it doesn't have to be combat, it could also be a social conflict, but one that you really want to focus on, then you go into using effects. And you can use your power, spend your power to create different effects like adding new tags, removing tags, giving statuses, discovering new details, and so on. So this is just like a quick going over the rules there. And maybe we can start taking questions.
Sounds good. So, there were some questions that were posited right after we finished creating the character that I think would be sort of a great transition between like character question to system questions. Let's see here real quick. Uh, so Jorge Ponchator asks, would it be possible to have duplicates of the same themes? So like 2 trait theme books or 2 devotion theme books or 2 companion theme books?
Yeah, it's possible. We just usually not recommend it because it becomes a character that's very much about one thing or about their traits or about their personality, and it's nicer to balance these things. But there's no mechanical problem with that. You can do that.
Mhm. So, another question that's been popping up in the chat is replacing themes. The City of Mist has has like a mechanic where it's very much incentivized to grow out of your themes and replace them with other themes, and then use the latent power from your previous themes to add on to your character. And the balance between mythos and logos in that game is one of the ways that incentivizes that. So for Legend in the Mist, where there's not that like mythos logos balance, will the practice of replacing themes with other themes still be incentivized as part of like the core design? What's sort of the outlook on that, Amit?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a couple of things that incentivize players to replace things. First of all, you get the same special evolution points that you would get in City of Mist that unlock a new level or a new type of improvements for your characters. And you can only access those. Well, I don't know if you'll only be able to access those, but you get a chunk of those whenever you replace a theme. So having these dramatic moments, certainly the characters are very much incentivized to do that. Another thing is that if your characters want to change levels, basically, and I don't mean leveling up, but I mean changing the kind of tier that their character participates in the story based on. So if they want to move from origin to adventure or even greatness and be able to deal with other types of threats, then they will want to change themes, right? Especially if they started with origin, they might want to change to stronger themes and vice versa. Maybe at some point they're sick of being a king. They're sick of that. They want to go back to their roots and they want to become an unknown again. And then they go back down, and that allows them to tackle challenges that the big guns with greatness themes can't actually access. So this is going to be a major driver for people to have mobility in their themes.
So, another question that's sort of brought up throughout the chat is talking about like magic and resource management. And if you don't mind, I think I kind of have an answer to that that kind of ties
Sure.
into other questions in the chat. So, a lot of the ways that magic works in Legend in the Mist is that you have a theme that allows you to like cast that magic, and then the more specific you get into the magic, that's where the like tags come from. So having a tag like fireball is like when you use your magic to shoot fire from your hand, you are going to be mechanically rewarded for that with a bonus. So some people are asking like, what is the resource management like? Will there be mana or slots? And from my current understanding of the game system, and feel free to stop me if I'm wrong here, but the tags themselves are the resource, because a large part of this game is burning tags. If you saw our live stream yesterday where we did an actual play, we were actually burning tags left and right to get those bonuses in order to make rolls work. But also, tags being burned can be used as a consequence by the GM for failures or mixed successes. And so, the like previous example, if you have like a magic theme and you have a tag that allows you to cast fireballs, there are multiple situations where that tag could become burned, and that is representative of like losing the resources or ability to cast that spell.
Yeah,
And
that's definitely a part of it. Sorry, did you want to say
yeah,
more
and
about that?
there was an earlier discussion in the chat when we were going over like Truffles, of like what happens when, like, for example, Truffles falls unconscious, and it's really kind of a like the Truffles tag being burned can be represented in the flavor of the game as Truffles going unconscious. Or, like the Truffles theme being replaced, that could be Truffles dying, or that could be Truffles, going to a different location. But it is that is the tags themselves are largely the resources in Legend in the Mist.
Yes, definitely. There's a couple of things. I agree with everything you said, Kevin. There's a couple of things I could add here. Tags definitely are one of the resources that you use and can use in your magic system. So, for example, if you're going with a Vankian magic system, spells can be tags that are always burned when they are used. Now, someone has asked, what happens when a player burns a tag? When a player burns a tag, they get a boost for their power. So instead of getting a +1 power for that tag, you would get +3. but you won't be able to use it pretty much until downtime or until you take special action to recover it. So, so when you a really good representation of a Vankian magic system is that you learn your spells, and then when you use them, they are burnt. They give you +3 power one time, and then you can't use them again unless you memorize them more than once or something like that. So that's one way of using tags and burning. The same goes for potions and bombs and things like that. You throw them, you get a big bonus of power, and then you can't use them anymore until you make them again. Another way of controlling resources that you will be able to, our guide for creating magic systems will include all this information. Another way of doing that is, there are two other ways, at least, that I can think of now. One of them is a narrative way. So you could have a threat that is very common to a certain type of spellcasting. For example, running out of chaos magic in the area. Okay? So this threat is something that the MC puts out there. And if the action generates consequence, the MC can say, okay, now this place is completely depleted out of chaos magic, and you can't cast any more spells. Another variation that is a narrative, by the way, this is similar to ammo. This is all of resource management. For example, in Otherscape, we recommend managing ammo as a narrative thing. Like, you're running out, you're shooting a lot of bullets, you're running out of ammo, threat, and then a consequence of you have run out of ammo or your clip is empty, take an action, a quick action to change your magazine. So the same thing can happen with magic. Another thing that you could do if you really want to get technical and tactical with it is to give the player a status of either, the status is either growing towards running out. So for example, if I'm losing mana, or I have a status of 6 mana, and then I'm gradually, taking that off of that until I come to 0 mana, and then I can't cast any more spells, or the other way around, going from 1 towards, that's more in line with the mechanics of the engine, going from 1 to 3 to 4, and then at 5 I'm disabled. I can't. I'm basically incapacitated with anything related to mana, so I can't use any more spells. And another thing that you could do, which is even worse and more of a death spiral, is exhaustion, or so that the status, as it grows, it influences my spell casting. So the first time I cast a spell, it's clean, but then I get a status of like draining mana or exhausted or tired 1 that affects everything I do. And then I get tired 2 that affects everything I do, including spell casting. And it becomes a death spiral, because the more I use, the greater the minus I'm going to get, and I won't be able to get a great effect, not without burning a lot of tags. So at tired 4, I think we saw that during the actual play, and you can go and check that out. It's really hard to get an effect out with -4 power to your roll. So we covered like 3 or 4 types of resource management that are built in the system, and you can use in your magic system. And as for truffles, sorry, I'm just going to say the truffle thing. Did you want to talk about the resource management? Go ahead.
Yeah, on terms of like resource management, and this is also something that's being asked a little bit in the chat, are the backpack tags. Do we want to go into those a little bit?
Yeah, we can totally do that. One of the ideas that we have, especially for a Vankian magic system, is having a spell memorization theme that is identical to the backpack theme. Like, you have a bunch of spells on it, but before you go out on the road every day, you choose 3 or 4 or 5 spells, depending on your ability, that to memorize, and then you can burn those spells when you cast them. So yes, the backpack theme is very much something that you can work into that as well. Before we go into other questions, I would definitely want to highlight that secondary characters can take their own statuses. So Truffles could actually be, wounded 1, 2, 3, 4, and at 5, you can't use their tags. You can't use, it's not that you can't use their tags. You can't take actions with Truffles, and therefore their tags cannot be invoked. Unless it's in a very weird kind of situation. But yes, secondary characters take statuses. They can be disabled, they can be killed, they can have everything that a main character can have, and it could be reflected with burning tags, like Kevin suggested. The MC burning Truffles tags to say, Truffles out. Truffles not with us, in terms of he could have just gone and smelled something in the forest and you can't find him. And until downtime, he's not going to come back. So that's another way of handling that.
Cool. So Le Chevalier asks, what exactly is the difference between status and tags regarding effects? Because if you're able to pull up the effects page of, like what you're able to spend points on after a roll, there are different costs between generating a status, like nauseous 2 or /3, and a tag such as like an item or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a very simple reason to this. Tags are usually more objects or qualities, like inherent qualities of things. So this is what usually your power tags are going to be. They're going to be either inherent qualities or things that you have. Um, and Statuses are conditions. They're transient conditions by definition. So you can overwhelm someone with a lot of statuses, but actually giving them tags is a little more um, damaging in a couple of ways, and this is why it costs more. Tags always stack. You're never going to have a relevant tag that isn't adding to your powers. However, statuses, if your target has 5 different negative statuses, um, only the worst one is, or the best one, whichever perspective you take here, only the worst one and the best one are going to apply to power. So actually, statuses they affect things differently. It's a way to progress an adversary towards defeat, or a certain process towards completion, or prevent your own progress towards defeat by removing statuses from yourself. So they are more, it's more like a currency. It's cheaper. It's easy to move it around. Tags represent things that are more serious. They're always applied. They always change the power of a role, and therefore they cost more. They have just like, they're heavier, so they cost double what a status tier does.
Okay.
Heavier in terms of impact, I mean.
Cool. So we mentioned death spiraling earlier, and Chris Roberts asks, how do you handle death spiraling? Like, a character accumulates statuses that affects their roles, and then they accumulate more statuses. Like, what are like ways the rules go against that, or also what are strategies that people can take in order to prevent that death spiral?
So as a player, your best strategies are having tags not just to take actions, but also to mitigate statuses is really important. To There are tags that are offsetting statuses. Like if I have a tag of endurance, I am able to offset in some of my actions being wounded or being tired. And there are tags that obviously allow you to recover or remove statuses. So these are things that you want to stock up or have someone in the party that has that. Um,
Always pays to have a
in,
healer.
oh, yeah, you gotta have a healer, but also, it doesn't have to be. All of these other options are valid. Like if you can soak damage, that's going to prevent the death spiral as a player. We do also in Otherscape, we already have optional rules of how to break the death spiral, which basically say that when someone is attacking you, they mean to increase a certain wounded status on you, then any wound statuses that you already have don't affect that roll, because the goal of that roll is to affect the wounded status. So you can use that optional rule. I think that in adventuring games, I think that this quote unquote death spiral is actually great. I think that you want people to be ready. You want people to burn tags in order to survive a match or a scene. You want your players to kind of push themselves to the limit. So I think that it's not like a Dungeons and Dragons TPK situation. It's more of a story driver. But like I said, there's an optional rule to cancel that if you don't want to.
Stefan and Denglish Design both want to know. This is more of a like actions consequences kind of
Yeah.
question. Uh, so, what if there are multiple threats and a character only addresses one of them? Is it, to extrapolate, is it like an automatic, like the other threats also affect, or could the GM like hold back those threats? Like, what's sort of the default like rules for like multiple threats happening at the same time?
Yeah. So this is a great question. Multiple threats are the GM's threats in general. The number of threats that a GM poses in every established phase is actually the GM's way to set the pacing and the stakes in a way of the scene or that moment in the scene. So if you don't put any threats, it means that the characters are free to like explore and take a look around. It doesn't mean there won't be consequences, but they won't be coming from threats. If you put one threats per action, then there's a choice. Do I deal with the threat or do I take it and do something else? If you put multiple threats in a way that the PC can't handle all of them with one action, then you're really saying this situation is extremely dangerous and you're in trouble because something is going to hit you one way or another. So you have to kind of choose what you're dealing with, what you're going to soak. And it's your tool as the MC to increase the difficulty level. Sometimes characters have a lot of tags. They can defend from a lot of threats at the same. They kind of like survive your challenges too easily. So put a couple more threats there in each established phase and see how that disappears pretty fast. Um, but to answer the question specifically, yes, you can always say, okay, I'm not going to unleash the threat now. You don't have to do that. You don't have to say the consequences happen now, but you can just say, okay, the threat goes on, but it hasn't landed yet. And that's a perfectly reasonable thing to do. It also can create a lot of suspense. It's like, when is it going to hit?
DeLong John Silver asks, with the new status cards, why did y'all move away from pips, and how does that change play? Uh, to
Yeah,
go
let's take a look at
yeah,
that.
to go into a little bit more detail, in City of Mist, between different tiers of statuses, there are pips underneath those cards where it's like to go from a tier 3 to tier 4 status, you need to hit the 3 pips under tier 3 in order to get to tier 4. While in Legend in the Mist and Otherscape, those pips have been taken away from these status cards in favor of the more simplistic design that we see here on the screen. So, Amit, could you go a little bit into the design decision behind, well, that design decision?
Absolutely. It was simply easier. I mean, the pips were great, but they were a little unintuitive. A lot of people have complained, or not a lot, but let's say a good number of people, a large enough people, complained that it wasn't super intuitive. And we wanted to really, really simplify it. One of our, I believe it was Itamar Carbian, one of our game designers, came up with a really cool idea that will allow us two things that we really wanted: simplicity and backward compatibility. When I say backward compatibility, you can use all of the challenges or dangers, they're called, in City of Mist in this engine and vice versa. And this is done in a very simple way. A lot of people have asked about how does Banish 2 and Banish 2 add up to 3. These things don't add up. When you have a Banish 2, you just mark it as 2 on the card. When you take another Banish 2, you would also mark it on 2, but because 2 is taken, you move over to 3. That's all that happens. There is no adding here. And then if those 2 are blocked and you get another Banish 2, but that's taken, so you move to 3, but that's taken, then you go to 4. So it just makes it really interesting. If you then take a Banished 1, you actually will not go to 5. You will have to first mark the 1. And then if you take any one of those, you'll go to 5. So it's something super simple, like you just fill out spaces based on the tier that you deliver. And this allows you to deliver the same tier over and over again and still have it build up really quickly. In the previous version with the pips, sometimes it was a little bit slower, and sometimes, and most of the times, people just looked at it and it didn't immediately click. I think this is much easier to explain once you look at the rules and see how it works. So I see also a question: can hurt someone 6 times to kill them? Yes, and the reason that you can do that, the English design, is that you don't want any action that ends with one power to be meaningless. It's not interesting. We want to, if you don't want your character to die at 6, then you give them a lot of defensive tags. That's true whether it's a PC or a challenge. But we decided that we didn't want any kind of action to be meaningless. So yes, if you actually take 6 actions and manage to land a tier 1 status, basically imagine you know attacking with a weapon or saying a very clever thing in a social conflict, yes, you will hit that tier 6. So none of your actions ever are meaningless with this new status setup.
Alrighty, so we are about out of time at the end of our
Yeah,
stream. Let's see. Is there one more question that you want to hit, Amit, or
sure.
let's
Let's do
see.
one
Yes.
more.
Okay. Let's see here. Uh, so Knack is asking, I know you haven't fully decided on how magic is formatted yet, but how does it work right now? I think we've kind of gone into like magic is a part of your themes. You use your tags to cast spells. The resource management is like the burning of the tags, but there will be guidance in the later Legend of the Mist release on like creating your own specific magic systems, and especially with like concepts like the backpack like tags, which are more crispy. There's room for creating like this is a spell book of temporary spells that you can cast limited amount of times per day. So there's a bit of there's still like a bit of like flexible leeway in terms of like the different magic systems, but that's the big way that it works in Legend of the Mist, is that your tags, much like the rest of your abilities, work in terms of like how your magic works and your resource management. uh so yeah, think those are the big ones. All right. So, honestly, this was really cool. I'm glad we got to mess with Gorna. I would really like
Yeah,
to do another one of these streams to try out creating some of these other character concepts. And I definitely saw some people in chat like would be very interested in trying out like a creature of Twilight character, or one of the characters with the more like adventurous or heroic like theme books to kind of show like, all right, we made Bilbo. Now let's see what happens when we try to make Gandalf. Um, so,
totally.
all right. Anything else you want to say to our viewers before we sign off?
No, thank you so much for joining us for this stream. It was really cool. I loved your ideas. And thank you again for supporting us with our new game. We're really excited about making it and kind of serving you a really, really nice system that you can craft amazing stories with. So thanks again. And yeah, we'll come back in the next stream.
So, audience, if you haven't already, be sure to check out the Legend in the Mist Kickstarter. You'll be able to find more information on this game. You'll be able to download the Tinderbox demo, which I mirrored my screen, which we're showing over here, shows
Yeah.
even more of these rules that we're talking about, some more suggestions on our theme books. Meets scrolling through it right now. If you want to speak more with a community of people who are also crazy about this game and the rest of Son of Oaks games, be sure to join the City of Myth Discord, which I just threw an invite link in the chat. It's full of really helpful people who love talking about these games and also just love talking about a bunch of other stuff in there. I really adore this community. Um, and also keep track of our socials and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have more streams coming up potentially, and if you want to be the first to know about them, be sure to check those out, as we'll like post about like, hey, we're going to be talking about more characters, or even potentially creating a monster if there's interest. Who knows? But with that, I'm Kevin Carpenter. Amit, thank you so much for inviting me onto this live stream so we can
Thank
like create a
you for
character. I am
joining me.
so excited about this game.
Me too.
All right. And audience, thank you all.